Hello everyone, welcome back to Train Sim World 2. Today we're here on the Laramie subdivision, taking an intermodal train from Laramie Yard to Cheyenne Yard. We're here in the SD70ACe, and let's get her set up for the journey. We're going to go ahead and take a look down at this control panel in front of us. Make sure the engine run is set to on, make sure the generator field set to on, and the fuel pump set to on as well. I'm not going to worry about the front headlights yet, but we'll at least turn the front number board lights on to get started. And I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look at the fuse cabinet here in the control panel just to make sure everything is good here. Isolation switch is set to run, very good. Dynamic brake cut-in, that's set to cut-in, very good. Headlight control, single or intermediate unit, that looks good there. And I think everything up here looks good. We're going to open up the fuse cabinet, and I think everything in here is good. I'm not going to worry about the cab signaling in today's run, and I think everything else is good, so I'm going to close that up. And now for the patience part of the episode, let's go ahead and take a look at our display over here. First, we're going to go ahead and turn up the brightness. It's a little bit too dim for my liking. There we go, do that 50%. We're going to go ahead and go into operator controls. First, we need to change the air brake setup from trail to lead. So that's the F3 key here. So now it's set to lead. And then we need to change cut out to cut in, which is done under F2 right there. Okay, cool. So everything is good here. That means we are now controlling the brakes from this locomotive. Now, I'm not going to go into too much details about all the numbers here because, quite frankly, I don't even understand them. But I can tell you at least the numbers you need to look at while we are getting the brakes charged up in the locomotive. So let's go ahead and let's back out of the displays, go back to the seat, and we're going to do what we normally would do for United States, North American, long freight, or heavy freight, I guess, hauls, charging up the brakes. So first we're going to take our independent brake, we're going to throw that all the way to full application, then we're going to move the automatic brake and move it to the left and go into release. So now, as you guys can see, as we use the arrow keys on the keyboard to get back up to here, you notice there's a bunch of numbers going everywhere. So this is basically what we're doing here is charging the brakes, if that makes sense. We're putting pressure into the brake systems, that way they are activated, that way they work. So what we want to see here is the equalizing reservoir. We want to see that reach 90. We want to see the brake pipe here in the front locomotive reach around 89, 90. And we also want to see the rear, as the rear is now starting to build up pressure. We want to see this rear go up to around 75. 75 is kind of the comfort zone. And that's if you're, as like we are here in Laramie Yard, if we're starting out at a 0% gradient or going uphill, it's going to be okay if we see the rear brake pipe at 75. Now, if we're on a hill start, we can also be 75 at the rear brake pipe, that's fine. If we're going downhill, or if we're starting from a stop and expected to start going down a grade, we want to wait for this rear brake pipe to go to closer to 85, I would say, 85, 90. So yeah, this is all making sure that the brakes are, like I said, pressurized, they're, charged and ready to go. Basically, see how the rear here, so we need to keep in mind the length of this consist as well. I haven't talked about the specifics of this train yet, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for the length of this train, you notice how, the front brake pipe here is slowly going up. It's kind of stalled at 66, 67 here. But at the rear, because this consist is so long, it's taking a lot longer for the rear to build up pressure. So we're going to be here for a long time. Again, this is where the patience comes into play for long, heavy haul American freight runs and such. So we're going to be here a while, waiting for the rear. Like I said, 75 is what we want to see out of the rear. I might personally just wait until it reaches 80. That way we know for sure that the brakes are working in the rear. But yeah, as long as this isn't, pressurized to, the numbers that we want to see, we're not going to be able to get going. The mistake is going to be people are going to see this front brake pipe number, and it's like, oh, we're at 85, so that means we can go. But the rear of the train, the brakes are still kind of locked up. There's no pressure being fed into them. So if you try to get going right here, right now, we're not going to be moving anywhere. So yeah, we got to wait for this rear to go up. And yeah, like I said, each of these numbers mean, something. Like I said, I'm just kind of giving you guys the general overview of them. I don't really understand the physics behind them or how they work. And I'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, everything else looks good. Like main reservoir looks good, and the brake cylinder, it says 72, and that's because, well, we have our independent brakes set to full. So that's at least showing us what the brake cylinder pressure is up here in this lead locomotive. So yeah, the whole reason why we set our independent brake to full and our automatic brakes to release is just to, like I said, build up pressure back in the system, but the independent brake is held just so we don't move anywhere. Thankfully, we're on a pretty level gradient, so we won't worry about or have to worry about the consist rolling either up or down the track or behind us. But yeah, everything else looks good. Now we can confirm that the rear is being pressurized. So right now it's around 46, 47. Let's go ahead and back out of the cab. We're gonna go to front camera, and then we're gonna go to the rear camera, and it's gonna have to go through the loading screen because it's gotta load up all the terrain and stuff back here. And if we look at our rear SD70ACes, we can open up the window in here, and as you can see, whoops, there are more options. I need to brighten this up. You can see, there we go. We have 55, around 55 here in the rear, and I think that little dial says 80. It says 89. I guess the front is already at 89. But yeah, that's just confirming that. The rear of the train's number is correct. Everything else is good there. So we'll go ahead and jump back to the front cab. Load in all the assets. There we go. Go back to the interior. So yeah, everything looks good, and we again confirm those numbers there. Yep, rear's now at 57, and the front brake pipe's set to 89. So yeah, it's gonna take a lot of patience here to wait for the brakes to pressurize to the back of this consist. But yeah, as I was saying, we'll get to the details, so we might as well do that now while we're waiting. This is the 1439 timetable on the Sherman Hill route. Again, we're in the SD70ACes. We are 8,226.1 tons in weight. We have 106 cars, 6 of them are locomotives, the other 100 are the Gunderson Double-Stack Intermodals, and this locomotive is 1.6 miles in length, so that is exactly why it is taking forever for the rear of the consist to get the brakes working and going. So that, like I said, that's going to be the number one assumption, I guess you could say, that people are going to have when trying to get a long locomotive, or long consist, I should say, moving on a journey like this. So yeah, it's going to take a while. It'll probably take another 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, for us to get the rear pressurized. But yeah, as we're sitting here, there is one thing I want to point out. I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer this early into the episode, because quite frankly, Sherman Hill is by far one of my new favorite routes in Train Sim World 2. But basically, prior to recording this episode, I had attempted recording the same scenario previously, and had the same issues that most people would have. They thought that they're working the brakes correctly, charging the brakes, but had no understanding of what any of these numbers meant on this gauge here, and understanding like, oh yeah, we got to wait for the rear of the train to pressurize and things like that. So about at this point, I was trying to get rolling, and obviously I wasn't going anywhere because the brakes near the rear of the locomotive aren't fully released and built up with pressure. So for me to understand that, I had to watch one of Matt Pedalson's recent Sherman Hill live streams to understand that. And that's the same for the dynamic brakes, because we're going to have to use the dynamic brakes on the second stint, I guess you could say, of this journey. And I didn't use the dynamic brakes correctly, just to put it simply. And again, it wasn't until I watched that live stream, or at least the replay of the live stream, to actually understand why my dynamic brakes weren't working. And, you know, we'll get to that when we get to that portion of the route, or to the, I guess you could say, the journey. So, all in all, I'm disappointed that I had to watch a live stream or someone else's video to actually understand how the brakes operate, and how to make, you know, how to just run the consist. And, you know, there's really no tutorial within the route kind of explaining this stuff. Now, on Sand Patch Grade, I don't know if it's in this current version of Train Sim World or if it was in the previous, before the Train Sim World 2 update, but I know on Sand Patch there was a little tutorial talking about brakes. And it'd be great if that tutorial was brought into Sherman Hill, because I think a lot more people would understand, okay, why is it taking forever for the brakes to kind of come up to pressure? You know, what's the reasoning behind it? And what do all these, you know, these numbers mean? You know, what does equalizing res mean? Brake pipe, rear, you know, the flow, main, brake cylinder, all that stuff. So I wish Dovetail Games did a better job at their tutorials. And I'm not saying their tutorials are bad, but their tutorials are set up more or less like, do this, do that, and there's no explanation for why you're doing what you're doing. So it's kind of frustrating in that regard. Like I said, it's also frustrating with the dynamic brakes too, and just not knowing, you know, why they weren't working, that original attempt at running this scenario. So that's kind of the Debbie Downer part of the video out of the way, but, you know, I'm hoping Dovetail Games will maybe prove that, you know, down the future. Hopefully they can incorporate something within the sim so they're not, you know, when people get the game, you know, they can rely on the game and those tutorials to understand it and not scratch their heads and be like, well, why is this not working? And then, you know, having to search the internet, or search like a video like mine trying to understand how the brakes work. I will say the most viewed video on my channel, that I don't know how I ever got that locomotive to start moving, because I made the exact same mistake. I didn't understand that the rear of the train, you know, needed time to build up pressure, and a lot of people had corrected me in the comments, and, you know, even reading some of the comments, I was still scratching my head because I didn't fully understand it. So yeah, it was a miracle that I ever made that episode work, and made that journey work. So, but now for me it makes a little bit more sense. I hope for you guys it makes a little bit more sense. You know, if anything, like I said, I'm not fully, you know, explaining why these numbers are what they are or what they do. You know, that's for your time and research to get a better explanation for how they work, because I don't want to say the wrong thing and then everyone be like, oh, you said the wrong thing, that's not right. But I can at least give you the gist and what numbers you want to see. And speaking of numbers, if we take a look, the rear is past 75, we are now at 76, so let's go ahead and just start moving. You know, pretty much at that point we have brakes, at least for, I would say, 75% of the consist, which is okay. So let's go ahead and go through all the other stuff. And yeah, we're not done, because there's still a few more steps we need to do to make sure that this whole consist is going to be operational. That's the same thing with yeah, I'll talk about it here in just a sec. So anyways, we put the number board lights on. We're going to put the front headlights to bright. That's good. You can even see here on the HUD, it shows up there that the lights are on, which is really cool. Even when you turn the horn on and the bell and other stuff, it turns on. Just for the immersion, because our guy is cold. It's a snowy, very snowy day here in Wyoming. We'll go ahead and turn the heater to low heat, and you can even see it shows up right there, low heat. So we got low heat down there. I think everything down there is good. That's just for the rear headlights. Before we stick the reverser handle in and get moving, we need to come up to this comm box, this radio box right here, and this button right here that says banking comm. We need to turn that guy on. And that means we are now controlling the two SD70s at the rear. Remember, we have 4 SD70ACes at the lead, and we have 2 as DPU units in the rear. And from what I could tell, for what I've heard, Dovetail Games, hasn't fully, I guess, implemented or understood, if that's the way to put it, distributed power. So their cheat to that is using this bank and come option. So once that's on, that means we are now controlling that. And notice how I clicked on bank and com prior to putting the reverser in and the throttle in. If we put the reverser to forward and give it throttle, then hit bank and com, the SD70 that's facing backwards is going to want to pull it forward, or from its point of view, it wants to pull it forward. So we're basically playing tug of war with it. So yeah, you want to make sure that you press bank and com prior to putting the reverser in. So now we can go ahead and throw the reverser handle in. We can now put that to forward, and we'll hear the revs build up. And we can go ahead and let's go ahead and give it 1 notch of throttle, and we will release the independent brake. Oh, we got what is that over there? It looks to be a grain train coming around the corner. That's awesome. Still got the green up ahead here. Still got the green saying we can leave the yard, so they're not on the same track as us. And we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch to the controller now. We'll go ahead and turn the bell on, get the 2 blasts of the horn. We should be ready to roll. So let's go ahead and get the bell. I'll open up the window because it's kind of quiet. Let's go ahead and get the wipers on. They turn on. There we go. Wipers are on. 2 blasts of the horn. Release the independent brake, and now, if we take a look at the ground, we should be rolling. And there we go. So slowly rolling here. It's going to take a little bit because we're currently removing slack off the rest of the consist. There we go. We're building up a little bit more speed now. 2 miles an hour. And 3 miles an hour. So I'm going to presume that the rear of the consist is now rolling. And we are on our departure from Laramie here. The grain train slowly rolls past us. A very snowy day here in the state of Wyoming once again. And there's the end. They got a DPU AC4400. Very nice. Okay, we look to be good. We look to be rolling. We're gonna keep it at notch 1 as we roll out of the yard. It's gonna take a while for the rear end to get past all these turnouts and such. So we'll keep it at 1. Probably wait till we get to the curve just up ahead to apply some more throttle. But all in all, we are rolling. Everything looks to be good for the locomotive. Alright, back in the cab here, and doing a steady 12 miles per hour. We are starting about a 6% or 0.6% incline. I think we'll be going to a 0.8% incline shortly. Holding pretty good at 13. Again, I don't want to go too fast. I'm going to go ahead and put at least a notch 2, just get rolling a little bit more. At least those turnouts from the yard aren't too extreme, so you don't have to abide by that slow of a speed. As currently we're capped at, looks like 25 miles per hour on the speed limit, so you don't have to worry too much there. As a train passes by in real life, good heavens, I see my audio meter on OBS just completely going crazy right now, so I'm sure you guys can hear that just fine. And looks like we're doing good. We've hit the 0.8% grade. And we're going under, I believe... No, not this road. Actually, the bridge prior was Interstate 80. And we do run along Interstate 80 for most of the duration of this route, or at least after we crest Sherman Hill. Not doing too bad here. We've just hit about 15. Let's go ahead and put in notch 3. Kind of speed's sort of plateaued here. Just bail off the independent brakes. Let's just see what the brakes are at. We're at 81 at the rear. I'd say that's a good number. We've got brakes throughout the entire train, which is good. And we are rolling. Let's go ahead and go out to the front boom cam, just kind of see the surroundings and the beautiful Laramie subdivision, Sherman Hill. Yeah, I am very, very, I don't even know what the words are, honestly. Excited for this route. Happy is, yeah, words. I don't know what the words are, but, it's just a phenomenal route. When I heard that Sherman Hill was being worked on, I was like, ooh, they better get it right. And I think Dovetail Games nailed it. I mean, Sherman Hill is such a classic in TS1. And, you know, it's such a popular route popular, you know, route of Union Pacific, popular subdivision. So when I heard it was getting modeled in Train Sim World 2, I thought, oh man, you know, you guys better get this right. You better model this good, you know. And from someone who's not out, you know, from this area, you know, I'm nowhere near Wyoming or anything like that. Yeah, I feel like they did a good job with the, you know, from videos that I've seen out in the area, they did a good job with the terrain and things like that. Especially like all the grass that you see, like the tall grass and weeds and bushes and such on either side of the track is a really good detail. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm ruining a lot of the experience just because of the snow. Because I think the ground textures without the snow is really good. So I feel like the snow's covering up a little bit too much. But yeah, no, all in all, looks really good. The addition of the SD70ACes is a cool add-on as well. It'd be awesome to see these things in like a CSX livery or, you know, any other livery. And yeah, it's good to see. You know, sound-wise, I know that there's a lot of people who are like, oh, that's not the sound of an SD70, and, you know, quite frankly, that's, you know, it's not Dovetail Games' fault really for not getting the, you know, the exact sounds out of the engine. But overall, I mean, it's still really good. You know, it's convincing. It sounds like a locomotive. You know, sounds like a, you know, American locomotive. The horn is also pretty impressive too. The story behind that was some guy has a collection of you know, different types of horns and was able to get a horn, you know, recording for Dovetail Games, and so that's where you hear this from. And yeah, I actually, since watching like the beta or the live streams prior to the release, you know, the original horn I heard from the live stream wasn't too good. Like whatever the audio pattern was, it was kind of broken. Like when you release the horn, you hear another like blip of the horn. So they definitely worked on that a little bit more prior to it being released, and yeah, it just sounds really good. So, you know, pretty impressive what they were able to do, especially the circumstances that the world is in, and, you know, the team that or what Dovetail Games has to work with. Okay, so the speed and we're here at the blah blah blah. What? Yeah, words. There's the signal aspect. We're gonna knock it down. There we go. Knocked it down. We had a clear, and it looks like the next signal is still clear. And it looks like we're out of the yard because our speed limit did increase. So we're gonna just throw this thing in the notch 7 and start rolling. Let's go ahead and go back to the front camera view. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little GoPro cam shot. Let's see if we can get up here on the hood. Oh, very good. I think that's perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do. Oh no, it was almost perfect. And we will do that. There we go. Now we got our GoPro shot. So I'll do this once in a while. There's a reason behind that. But yeah, we got some houses over there to the left, fences. It's kind of barren to the right, but as to be expected. I'm also not too bothered with. Oh, why did we drop? Why did we drop power? That's weird. Anyways, I'm not too concerned with like how it loads up the terrain. Like you can kind of see like as we get further down the line, there's more terrain or I guess more foliage, I should say, being loaded up. But honestly, it doesn't have to be. That's just to help performance, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, speaking of performance, I feel like this is one of the first routes where, and especially for the length of this route, first route where you can just really tell how it, I guess, ahead of its time Train Sim World really was. I mean, the fact that we're now able to have Train Sim World on, obviously we've had it on PC, but the fact that we can now have it on the Xbox Series X and the PS5, and basically anyone who has those can run pretty much as well as I can run on my PC performance-wise, and it's really exciting to see. I think that's it's cool that we've been able to get to this point. I'm hoping that as the technology gets better, Dovetail Games is able to release longer routes, more complex consists and scenery and whatever it might be. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting time for Dovetail Games, and this route especially just kind of really shows the power that technology has gotten to, and what we're able to do. So, and I guess it helps that the scenery is pretty barren around here. So it's not like we're loading up a ton of trees like we are on Sand Patch and things like that. Alright, we're doing good on speed. We're getting close to this 40 miles per hour. A bit too close for my liking, but overall not too bad. Let's come around the bend here. Got some super elevation in the curve, which is nice. Yeah, looks like we got a crossing up ahead. Apparently the crossing gates do work. I have yet to check if they actually function or not, but that is exciting to see. Hopefully they'll incorporate that into Sand Patch Grade and other US routes. And we continue our trek towards Sherman Hill. So, yeah, we're getting into December here. I don't know where the heck 2021 went by. But, obviously I've been fairly busy and have had very little time to edit videos and upload videos, so I hope you guys enjoy. I mean, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, like the video and all that, and I try to get to everyone's comments since we're still a pretty small channel, so at least I'm able to do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys had a nice Thanksgiving. I had a nice Thanksgiving. Had family over from out of state, and helped my parents in the kitchen, pretty much because we were making all the meals, all the courses and side dishes and whatnot. So, thanks to Grandma's recipe, I don't think we would have had the stuffing as well as as well as it could have been in other years. So, following that, recipe and helping my parents and such was a good time. It was a good holidays and or good Thanksgiving at least. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and getting closer and closer to Christmas as the days go by. And I'm still trying to figure out my whole schedule with, how much I work during the week and what I'm able to accomplish on YouTube. So I'm hoping to get more videos out. I'd like to do a bunch of winter-related train sim videos, kind of like this one. There's something about when it snows. There's something about snow and trains that I really like. I don't know why, but so yeah, we'll hopefully do a little bit more when it comes to snow on the sim within the next month or so. I want to at least do a video on the Boston Sprinter route with Amtrak and the newly released route in the Rush Hour DLC. Maybe go back to Sand Patch. We'll see what we do. Oh, maybe do a Clinchfield one as well. I'm not too fond of the historic routes, but I might do Clinchfield in the snow. That might look pretty cool. Alright, let's go ahead and get out of the GoPro shot. So the reason I'm going to this shot is... Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, I didn't realize the update already happened. I was going to say the last time I tried recording this, many people recognized that the camera height on the driver's seat was like really high. And now they've lowered it a bit more so you can actually see out the window. Because with our old height, we would have been, we'd be pretty much looking right at this spot here where the windshield wipers don't cover. So yeah, cool. This is post the most recent patch, I guess you could say, on Sherman Hill. So that's good. Yeah, it's a lot better. I kind of like that really high up seating position, but I'm glad they didn't lower it too low. Like, this is still a fairly acceptable seating height. That's the problem I have with the SD40-2s. Those things, I feel like you sit way too low in the cab. That'd be the only locomotive where I'd say you need to fix the height, and that's for every route that has an SD40-2. Go through a rural crossing, great little farmhouse or something over there. It's really hard to... Yeah, I'll keep the other window open. Sometimes it gets a bit too quiet in the cab, but I'm sure I'll be balancing out the audio and such for this episode in Premiere, and I keep adjusting the sound on out of my headphones. Yeah, look at that. Look how far we can see. Got the sun shimmering on the snowy ground. I wonder how much snow they actually get in Wyoming, because I've seen. It's not like snow is not uncommon, but I don't know if they get covered with snow as much as this. So I don't know how realistic this actually is or not. But yeah, scenery-wise, another beautiful route. I did not see this crossing. It's okay, it's very rural anyways. Very rural. And I feel like this is sort of, this is Dovetail Games' route. It's not Skyhook, who created Cane Creek. I feel like Cane Creek was, unfortunately, such a big embarrassment. Like, I didn't see the point of Cane Creek for, like, how little there is to do in the route. When they had to add, like, interactives, like, every half a mile or so on the rail route, which looks very weird. Like, they just have a random water bottle station on the route. Like, that just kind of shows how lackluster the route is. For the scenery, it's cool, but even then, I don't feel like the scenery was done well. Even the very close stuff by the rails was bad, and I didn't like the color palette that they used for the ground and the textures and such. So I feel like this route sort of redeems that route, even though it's even though that route was by Skyhook Games. But Dovetail Games did say that Skyhook helped with a lot of the scenery that you see on this route, especially the rock formations that we'll see a little bit later. So, yeah, Skyhook definitely did a good job with that. I don't blame him for that, and I think that collaboration really helped Dovetail. Another fairly rural crossing, the rolling hills. So far doing pretty good. We are going to go via a location about 8.7 miles. Doesn't say what the location is, but I think it's Hermosa, if I'm not mistaken. I think Hermosa is the start of like what track 3 would be or whatnot. So, or Hermosa is actually the tunnel, I believe, so I'll have to keep that tunnel in mind. All in all, not too bad. I've just been kind of playing around between notch 6 and notch 7 here going uphill. Notch 6 is like not powerful enough to keep it at a consistent speed, but the notch 7's like too much, which I guess is a good problem to have. I feel like Dovetail really worked on the performance of the locomotives, because considering this thing has 100 intermodal cars and there's only 6 locomotives, the fact that we're not in like notch 8 and struggling is good. You know, although we're not quite at a 1% grade, it's probably going to be a different story, especially if we started from Cheyenne. I think the gradient here on tracks 1 and 2 is a lot heavier, so I don't think the speeds are as great there. But I mean, the fact that it's still an 8% grade, that's still quite a bit of grade. And we're doing okay between notch 6 and 7, and not throwing it at notch 8 and struggling to even reach 35 miles per hour or something like that is good. So at least the performance, especially since we got out of Laramie at around notch 1, I think that was also fairly impressive. But yeah, like I said, I'll keep repeating myself. As the title states, this is going to be a lot of patience. I mean, it's not like a passenger service where you're trying to, you know, pretty much beat the timer and, you know, execute, you know, all your acceleration and braking points. Well, it's, you know, for freight, it's just getting from point A to B safely. And so that's going to be key, especially as we go downhill on the other side of the grade. Let's go ahead and get out to do boom camera for a bit. There you go. There's the rock formations I was talking about. Looks pretty. Alright, getting a little bit closer here, 6.3 miles. Still going to be quite a bit as we wind through the prairie. Would you consider this area of the United States the prairies? Maybe. I don't know. I really vaguely remember anything from learning that stuff in elementary or whatever. Doing too bad here. Got another crossing coming up ahead. Still got the green aspect up ahead. We're doing good. Nothing to worry about there. Few frame jutters there, nothing to be too concerned about. Got the bell. got a lot of those snow fences. Is that what they're called? So snow barriers. Got a lot of those on the route, which is cool touch, cool detail. Yeah, this. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention about just the kind of the awe of this route. I was pretty much awestruck earlier. Like I don't even know how to describe how cool this route is, but I feel like I'm enjoying this route a lot more than I would be enjoying the route on TS1 or the original Train Simulator. I've since day one of Train Sim World, I've been a fan of it, and I don't understand the hate towards it a lot because this is such a more immersive feeling train sim than TS1. It just, you know, and it has to be because of the visuals, but there's just something about the feel. I mean, you can have that feel in a lot of games. You know, I'm more common with having a quote-unquote feel when it comes to racing games. And you just kind of feel the car and how it operates and how it works. And, you know, especially graphics is another way too, as an indicator for feel. And for this sim, you know, graphics is part of it. Graphics are phenomenal. Just the way the lighting is and all that, but then it feels more real. It feels more realistic. It feels like your inputs are actually doing something. And I'd say Dovetail Games, you know, again, they accomplished it so well. And again, I think Train Sim World is very much ahead of its time. I think when it first was announced, around 2017, 2018? Was that how long it's been? When they came out with Sand Patch, that was such an eye-opener. I was like, whoa, that's cool. Like, this is definitely like their own project. I mean, TS1 did not start with Dovetail Games. It was, you know, it got its hands passed around from Microsoft, and Kuju, I think, is the other company, or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely cool to see something that Dovetail Games is actually working on. And, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of hate. I personally don't understand the hate towards it. And I know there's little, and part of that hate is just because there are players who want to see this, that, and that, and Dovetail Games isn't making it happen for them because their priorities are a lot different than what we want to see. And I think just, I don't know, you know, I feel like we unfortunately live in an era where just, you know, people get so ticked off because it doesn't go their way, or they don't see the things that they want to see from, you know, and want to experience. And I think slowly but surely Dovetail Games will get to that point. You know, they'll get to the point where more third-party creator stuff will be better, or, you know, it'll be easier for people to make like Loco DLCs and Railcar DLCs. But you know, it's just tough because a lot of this is being worked through Dovetail Games. I mean, I think it's very hard for them to make a version of the game that third parties can use to model stuff, you know, because it's, you know, Dovetail Games pretty much, like I said, made this, I don't know, just, I'm not a game developer, so I don't fully understand it, but there's just aspects of the sim that are a lot different from TS1 that just makes it hard for people to make content for it. You know, Dovetail Games basically has to hold the third-party creators' hands just to, you know, make routes and such. I mean, when you look at Cane Creek, a lot of that stuff was, you know, borrowed assets from Dovetail Games. It wasn't Skyhook's, you know, stuff. So it's very... Yeah, it's very, like I said, I can tell it's very tough on them, and but I'm sure they'll figure something out. They'll figure out some sort of software or way to integrate more third-party stuff. I'm sure they'll get to that point eventually. It's not going to be, you know, they'll get it. They'll get it. But Dovetail Games is also concerned about with, I think, just getting routes out. You know, they want to see routes available. They want to see you know, more things for us players to do and not have a lack of routes. So I think they're just trying to get stuff out, and then they can kind of build from there. Okay, so we're 2.9 miles away from our Go Via. We do have an approach coming up ahead. We do also have a signal coming up ahead, so that's why I've been reducing the power. Just kind of dropping the speed because I'm not really sure what the next signal is going to be. We don't want to spat it. We'll try our best here to be careful. We do have the flashing yellow. Oh, that crossing is... There's nothing there other than the tire tracks. So once we pass this, we'll see what the signal after that is. Okay, looks like another approach. So far, at the moment, it seems like another approach, so... Go ahead and just increase the throttle a little bit more. 6. And then we accelerate, not 6, we'll try notch 5 here. See, we'll keep it around 30 for now. Let's go to our GoPro shot. Get some more rock features over here, which is nice. Yeah, one thing that it's also being covered up by the snow that I really appreciated was the roadbed textures. The roadbed is phenomenal, in my opinion. From all the screenshots that I saw too, I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over how good the roadbed looked. So yeah, they're definitely getting better with that. Oh, this is another crossing that was not done correctly. You can kind of see where the crossing would have been. Dovetail Paint Games probably just couldn't get to it in time, which is fine. Hopefully they'll add that and fix that. I know a lot of people have been complaining about track 3. I don't really see why. It's just I don't think it's. I mean, unless there's another industry in track 3, which I think there might be. I don't really see the purpose of track 3. So, you know, it might be something that Dovetail Games is able to add as a DLC content later on down the road, because I think they said they did work on it or attempted to work on it, so it's not like it's, you know, wasn't in the plans, but it'd be cool if there was DLC for that, and then, you know, everyone can shut up about track 3. I'm sorry, I really don't see the importance of it. I mean, the gradient for that is a lot less, and there's also a Y spur, but it's not like the Y spur is going to go anywhere. So, especially for a route that's just going from point A to point B, from Laramie Yard to Cheyenne Yard, you know, because of that, I don't see the purpose of track 3 really. People said that it's in TS1, but I guess that's how little I played Sherman Hill on TS1, so I'm not that familiar with it. Okay, so in just less than half a mile here, we got that yellow approach, and I think that's just because they're going to be going through a turnout here, and usually that just means medium speed through turnouts. We do have that 15 miles per hour coming up, about 1.8 miles, probably for the turnout. I'm going to increase throttle a little bit here, not excessively. But at least we got slowed up just in case, because you'll never know. You know, the signal after this could be red. So at least we're keeping a slow speed, a speed that's manageable when it's ready to maybe stop. And yeah, that would... I don't know if the track to the right is also considered track 3. That's the track that veered off to the right once we've left Laramie. I know there's an industry there. I don't know if it's like a cement plant or something like that. Actually, yeah, we got yellow over yellow, so I think that means... Well, yeah, it's not on a medium approach. I don't know. I don't remember my signals. I need to print out a cheat sheet of signals, but I think that means, you know, it prepared to stop in the next signal. It could be red, but it also means medium speed through turnouts. So I'm going to consider medium speed fairly slow, or in this case 15. Actually, it did just pop up we have a green, but we do have that 15 still, so again, that probably means we're going through a turnout. Got another crossing here. And I think this is Hermosa, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to pause the game and check that map. I just want to keep rolling here. But I wish there was like a pop-up on the HUD that would say like, you have entered Hermosa, or you have passed Sherman Hill, or something. I think that'd be really cool. That'd be a cool addition. At least people can correspond an area to a name. Because the base map doesn't have anything. Like if we just look at the map here, this has no names whatsoever. But then if you hit the pause menu, there's, we'll do it. Why not? We'll do it. We'll have a pause menu and then map, and then you have this map. But this doesn't show you where you're at on the route. But yeah, Hermosa would be where we're going to. There's a little conductor there because that's our go via location. So like this map has all of our locations, but I kind of wish this map had it. Like this map would make way more sense because the game is still active and we can see names and I don't know. I'd like the go via indicator should at least say the name of the place we're going through. Should really say go via Hermosa. And we get an idea of the area. Yeah, because it's those little things, like the tutorial stuff I talked about at the beginning of the episode, that and like these, you know, locations and indicators. It's just little stuff to help the immersion and help the player understand where they're at on the route. You know, I think it just make it a little bit easier. Ooh, take a sip of water. Yeah, I'm talking too much. Running the corner, doing pretty good here at 20 miles an hour. Alright, we're coming to that 15, which I think is just over here. So let's go just get off the throttle. Let it drop down a little bit. Apply throttle to make up for it. Gradually get down to this 15. I might stay in this GoPro shot because the scenery through here gets pretty good. You can kind of lose a lot of that in the cab. Get to the 15 easily, put in notch 2, notch 3. So the green out. The green is probably at the bottom of this red, is what it looks like via this signal. Notch 4, we're kind of struggling to maintain momentum up the grade. Probably should have just kept it in notch 1. Let it slowly come down to speed. At that point we were adding slack to the entire consist. Yep, and there you can see it there. There's green on the bottom part of the signal. Come through this 15. There we go. We've got through the go via. And the stop at is going to be Cheyenne in another 35 miles. There we go. There's the signal. There we go. We're going to be going to the right here. And we are accelerating. But we're within the 15. We're at least taking the turn out nice and slow. Very nice. Still got a green aspect up ahead. So that's going to be good for us. Back into notch 3. It's going to be really tough kind of balancing the speed here. Go through the little cut and just past this rock formation is ISDS. There we got another consist. I was hoping the tunnel would be there, but got an auto rack flying by us there. Very cool. Union Pacific auto racks. Keep the bell on. I've seen this locally. Oh, never mind. It's a manifest. Okay, that's weird. I wish the manifests were a little bit more mixed up, because manifests are more mixed up than organized, really, in real life. But I've seen whenever one consists past another, usually, I think both engineers at least try to keep the bell on or blast the horn a couple times to let people around know that locomotive is, or you know, there's locomotives on both sides of the tracks. And also let people know if anyone just happens to be trapped in the tunnel that they're coming through, or workers, or whatever it might be. Alright, let's get into the cab now. And here we go. We're in the tunnel. Kind of dropped our speed a little bit. Let's go and bring up the power to notch 4. Still got Granite on the aspect in another mile. Yeah, I'm definitely cheating with the HUD aspects, but it's better than having the waypoints on the map showing you signals and things like that. So it makes it a little bit more challenging, but it's still kind of cheating, really. See, now we're at a point where notch 3 isn't enough to keep it at 15 miles an hour, but notch 4 is like more than enough. More blast as we near the end of the tunnel. Alright, and we're at the other end. More wonderful rock formations. The front boom cam here. And just like that, we are already going 0.8% downhill. Now that is not the summit of Sherman Hill, but it is a bit of a hill that we did crest over. Let's go bring the power. We'll have to start slowly bringing the power down. Most of the constants hasn't crested over that, obviously, but we'll have to make up for it at some point. Actually, at some point, I think we'll get through that turnout and we'll get our speed back. I'll just keep an eye on the speedometer here. Keep an eye on our power and the gradient. I think there's supposed to be another crossing here or something. Same thing wasn't modeled for some reason. Slowly doing good. Maintaining speed. There's our green aspect just up ahead. Now it looks like we're starting to pick up a little bit of speed. Oh, there we go, we are picking up a bit, dropped in notch 1. Hopefully we're out of that. Hopefully we're out of most of that turnout. Start picking it back up. We do 45 coming up, which is probably the fastest we've been all day, but I don't think we'll be close to that 45, if anything. Knock the signal down. There we go, knocked it down, doing good, and there we go, the speed went up just as we reached the signal. So I guess that gives you an idea how long 1.6 miles is. Pretty much the start of the consist is where I guess the signal distance there would have been about 1.6 miles, so by the time we hit that signal, the rear end of the train must have passed the previous one, or at least past the turnout. So we don't have to chuck too much at this power-wise, because we are going downhill 0.8%. We have a little, looks like a little maybe Union Pacific maintenance shop here for the crew, I guess, if anything happens. And to the right of us, I think, would be the start of track 3, maybe? Yeah. We're doing good. I mean, you can even see notch 3. We are climbing when it comes to speed. Not doing bad. With a good scenery point. This is really cool. Kind of the track's sit much higher than the elevation around it. And considering that we're at a 0.8% grade, I guess if you think about it, if this was any lower, the grade would have been a lot steeper. So just imagine back in the day, the railroads were created way before all the modern technologies that we have now. So being able to, haul truckloads of dirt and excavate dirt and, mound up. I mean, look at how much up here, how much is mounded up just for the rails. I mean, look how much it drops off to the left. So it's kind of awe-inspiring, really. It's not until you see it where you realize how much goes or went into building the railroads out west, and how much elevation change there is. Like, yeah, this is a pretty, I mean, look at that. Look at how deep the valley gets on either side. That is impressive. Yeah, you can see we're climbing speed ridiculously fast, so I'm just going to go ahead and knock off most of the power here. Might have to use a little bit of automatic brake. Let's see. I can't tell if that's like a river to the left or not, or underneath us. Oh, we got another train. Yeah, it's 2 trains really close to each other. It's cool. Looks like a refrigerated train. Friendly honk to the other consist. They also got 4 SD70s at the lead. And let's go ahead and start bringing it minimal application brakes as we hit the 40 mile per hour mark. Play around with the minimal application a little bit here. Don't need anything crazy. There's the new Union Pacific reefer cars. We're at minimal application. You can see the brake pipes went to 84. So they're dropping in pressure. Go ahead and release it now as we kind of level out. As you can see, yeah, brake cylinder kind of releases, and then the brake pipes start to build up pressure. So, doing good. We got brakes throughout the entirety of the consist. There we go. Past the refrigerated consist. Oh, there must be a crossing gate I missed. Oh well. Did not see it. That's okay. There's both of us there. The other consist got to us before it. And here we go. Now we're starting the 0.8% grade back up. That's another, completely missed it. That's another good scenic spot as well on the route. This track 3 veers off over there. We got the terrain behind us. So we venture closer and closer to the summit. It's going to throw this thing in notch 3. Let's see if we gain a little bit more speed up here. Might as well. If we can maintain some speed going uphill, might as well do it. Came on. I'm dying in here. There we go. Close that vent. Got crossing up ahead here. Still got the clear on the signal just up ahead. Blah blah blah, just up ahead. Goodness gracious. I think part of it is because I can barely hear myself talk with these headphones. Maybe I should enable the being able to hear my voice through the headphones. Another section of crossing gates. I'm gonna trust that they work. From what I heard, they do work. Actually, there is one crossing I'm disappointed with. There's a crossing when you come out of the kind of Cheyenne Yard on the heading west. And there's supposed to be a crossing grade, or at least the gates on one of the crossings, but it's not modeled in the sim, which is disappointing. I'd feel like you'd at least model that. Maybe there's something they couldn't do. I don't know. There's like a lot of tracks there. It's like 4 tracks or something. Okay, most of the consist is now up on the grades. As you can see, we are dipping speed quickly. I just struggle to get up here. Another mast, just a milepost. I don't know why I thought that was a crossing. Okay, I feel like we're getting really close to the summit here. If anything, probably another couple bends in the curve and we'll be there. Got another... No. Once again, I don't know why I thought that was a whistle post. They're much bigger than the mile posts and markers, so... I don't know what I assumed that one was. Again, pretty landscape. It's just so cool to see. More rock formations down there. Yeah, that's actually pretty far off of the track, so the fact that things like that are modeled, that's pretty cool touch. Wow, this is really super elevated. Just how much we're tilting through the corner. Okay, we're at 40. We do have a 40 mile per hour restriction coming up in about less than a mile. I'd dip out of the throttle, and I think after this bend is Sherman Hill. Let's see. There's our warning that we're coming up to a 40. And here it is. Here's Sherman Hill, and we can easily tell because if we look over and boop, there's the summit right there, and then it's all downhill from here. So I'm gonna keep this as solid notch 6. I think I'm actually gonna bring it down to notch 5. Got the green aspect, which is good. Do have a crossing up ahead. And unfortunately, they didn't even model a sign at Sherman Hill. That's disappointing. I felt like they could have gone back to TS1 and grabbed that sign, but... oh well, maybe they'll add that in an eventual update. Alright, so we are going downhill and at 0.8%. pretty steep already in the back end. Again, most of the train's still going uphill, so that gives us time to at least prepare. Now, did I talk about dynamic brakes when we started? I don't think so. Okay, really quickly, dynamic brakes. Dynamic brakes function, they work, obviously. The only way that the dynamic brake would stop working is if it senses the brakes on the locomotive are applied. So now we can use automatic brake. We can put like, what most likely happens is we'll put like a cut of initial automatic brakes for the rest of the consist, which is okay. But when we do that, it applies loco brakes. So then we want to come over to the independent brake here and bail it off, and then the dynamic brake will start working again. So I'm going to wait for the speed. We kind of plateaued speed-wise. Throttle. Let's see. We can kind of manage the speed once we get the dynamic brakes cut in. How are we doing now? Not much has really gone up. It takes about 10 seconds for the dynamic brakes to come in, so I'm going to wait for the speed to start going up slightly. Actually, we've kind of plateaued at 33 fairly well. Let's do dynamic brake setup. Bail off the independent brakes just in case. That's good, that's good. And the kilopounds thing, we should see that bump up once I put a little bit more dynamic brake. We're holding, okay, 34, so we're slightly speeding up. Let's go ahead and cut in a bit of dynamics here as we speed up. Do have a crossing coming up, so things are getting intense now. Better buckle up if you haven't done so already. There we go, yep, kilopounds, I see one in there. The train's probably cresting over now. Doing good. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more, go around 4. Close it to 5, and we'll probably try to keep it around 35 miles per hour. Basically how the dynamic brakes works, again, from what I've seen from the live stream, is the dynamic, it's kind of like a bell curve. The dynamic brakes work at an optimal speed somewhere around, I would say, 35 to 40 miles per hour, at least from my experience. The faster you go, the less the dynamic brakes are going to work, and obviously the slower you go, the less necessary the dynamic brakes really are. So this is why the downhill portion, the downhill portion towards Cheyenne, we're going to have maybe a 50, as you see, actually, we're going to be in a 55 mile per hour zone shortly. We can probably get this consist down to, or up to 40 miles per hour, but I think anything faster than that, dynamic brakes aren't going to work as well. Now, we might be able to apply a cut-in of initial setup, or minimal reduction, whatever you want to call it, on the automatic brakes, and manage it fine. But especially if we're just using dynamic brakes, the speed that we're at right now is pretty good. We're holding at 34, 35, okay. I'm gonna drop a little bit of dynamic brakes, see if we pick up a bit more speed. As long as we're moving, that's good, but we don't want to get to a point where we're panicking to try to slow the consist down. So, like, nice and easy. Like I said, as soon as we saw the speed creep up slightly as most of the consist crested over, then dynamic brake and setup, give it some dynamic brake, and then from there, kind of manage it. Again, we're not trying to go as fast as possible here. We're just trying to maintain our speed, maintain control, I guess, of the consist, if that makes sense. So far, we're looking good. Still got a clear coming up in 1.5 miles. We're going to be coming up to a 55 zone shortly. And we're not going to worry about the speed too much here. Seem to be doing really good with this cut of dynamic brakes. If anything, we're probably slowly gaining speed. Doing good. This is a really cool area. As you can see, there's a turnout just up ahead, that goes nowhere. There used to be a track in the middle. It was probably a track for maybe like helper locomotives to maybe get off, or if there was a consist like waiting there in the siding, that would be that. But in the world of what CSX calls precision scheduled railroading, and I'm sure most other railroads are attempting to do it with, you know, DPUs and longer consists and a lot of helpers, sidings like that really aren't necessary anymore. So it's kind of cool that's modeled in the sim. They didn't just add it for the sake of it used to be there. It's taken out now. You can't use it. That's pretty cool detail. So not too bad. We cut about 10 miles off to our distance to Cheyenne. See, there's another siding way off to the left, and then there's the rest of the track that they still have yet to take up. Okay, we're climbing on speed just slightly. A little bit more dynamic brake here. So we got the clear just up ahead. There we go, in the 55 zone now. So at least we have a lot of speed to work with in case we do get into a panic mode, but we're not gonna worry about trying to hit that speed. Such a long, heavy consist. We'll try to do, let's see if we can get this closer to 40. Just experiment a little bit. Drop a little bit, see how daring we get. "25 miles away from Cheyenne." We got 1.1 miles to the next clear signal. About 38 miles per hour. I believe that's Interstate 80 off to our left. There's no cars on it whatsoever. No AI traffic. Great detail. We do have a crossing coming up here. Alright, we're getting closer to 40. Let's bring up a little bit more dynamic brakes, see if we can hold this okay. We were holding about 51% of the dynamic brakes okay at around 35 miles an hour. Let's see what it does at these higher speeds. So far still clear, no speed changes, which is good. Okay, we're holding closer to 40 okay, not bad. Say we can trust it at this grade here. Ooh, and actually speaking of that, just as I say grade, we are now at 1.5% downhill. My goodness. So what's gonna happen here is I'm actually gonna keep the dynamic brakes here around 48, we'll do 52 here. I'm gonna take a look at the speed. Let's see, we're currently at 40, still got the clear. If this is real railroading, conductor would be calling dispatch and saying our engine number and mile post or whatever the heck. Okay, we're slightly going up speed. So, remember, like I said previously, dynamic brakes stop working when it senses the locomotive brakes are on. So what we're gonna do is, you know, we're just slowly increasing speed. Let's go ahead and switch to automatic brake, and we're gonna apply minimal reduction. Boom, minimal application. Now I'm gonna go over to the independent brake, and bail off. See, I'm holding it bail off. You see it says -0 or -100%. Notice how the brake cylinder on the gauge, it started climbing up and then it dropped now down to 0.2, which is the second one from the top. And notice how at the same time, the dynamic brakes slowly wanted to cut off, but then they came back on. And so basically the rest of the engine has minimal application, but the engine's brakes are not applied. So now, as you can see, our speed is, we're still at around 52. We're at 52 in dynamic brakes. We applied minimal application to the consist, and we can confirm we're applying minimal because the brake pipe pressure for now this engine, and or at least the consist, is now around 85, 84. But you can see the brake cylinder with the engine itself is at 0. So, and we're holding 42 miles per hour very well. So yeah, I'd say that was the smoothest transition to add a little bit of minimal application. Like I said, you add that minimal application and you have to bail off the independent brake. Once again, as soon as the Loco senses that, or the dynamic brake senses that the engine's brakes, the friction is slowing down, dynamic brake cuts off. Dynamic brake thinks, oh, we're not needed anymore. So that might be a lot of people's problem when you get to this grade change and then the speed starts to pick up and then you're like, why is the dynamic brake not working? And then you're using a crap ton of independent and an automatic brake to get the consist stopped, and it's just a pain. We're climbing in speed slightly, so I'm increasing a little bit more dynamic brake. We did get to a 1.1% grade, so we're kind of going in between a couple gradients here, but it's still the most grade we've seen all day. Let's go and just bring it up. Let's bring it up to 70. Why not? Just try to get it slowed down a little bit more. Like I said, 40 is going to be my comfortable speed here as we go down the grade. We'll see if we can hold it at a good speed. Yeah, that minimal application is really helping us. We're not straining the dynamic brakes. And we're maintaining good speed here, which is what we want to see. Man, that ethanol train was hauling. You can tell those front 4 Locos are notch 8. They're just trying to get up the grade. Yeah, dynamic brakes are doing great. We're already down to 40 miles per hour. Let's cut out just a slight bit of dynamics. See what we can do maintaining speed. Long, what I would presume, ethanol train. See, I might have DPU at the rear. It looks like it. I have 2, or it's at least 1, yeah. Not bad. It's definitely chugging, that's for sure. Right, 59 miles per hour. Got another 21 miles till Cheyenne. We are coming to a 45. That's why we weren't trying to push the speed limit, because we are, the speed's probably going to fluctuate, so we're going to keeping that in consideration. Still got it clear in the signal aspect, which is good. We're doing good speed-wise. I'm going to dip off the dynamics slightly, so maintain a little bit closer to 40. We're going to watch it kind of accelerate a little bit more, get the dynamic brakes just where we'd like it. Just holding here just fine. Like I said, we're not straining dynamic brakes. We're in no rush. We're just trying to get to Cheyenne safely. Yeah, we're picking up slight speed, so I'll dip a little bit more, add a little bit more dynamic brake. This can easily get out of hand really quickly. Now we're at 41. And there's the 45 that we're in. It's gonna go to 66, why not? Dynamic brake. No, maybe not. Closer to 70. Still looks like it's wanting to climb here. Still good on the aspects. Speed, trying to adhere to the 45. Go to 73. I think that's kind of the safe number on the dynamic brakes here. There's our clear aspect. As the sun sets behind the hills, we're doing good. It's not too bad. Thankfully, we're not going off here. Ooh, actually, you know what? This might be Granite. Yeah, I think it is. Wow, we come into Granite a lot quicker than I thought, but this is the canyon. This is where the mine is. The mine is going to be just to the left. This is where the side tracks go off to. You can see there's even a little bit of digging here on the right-hand side. You see that just over there. Ooh, yeah, very cool scenery. I think that's Interstate 80 once again to the right side. Added a bit more dynamic brake. We're at 77%, still holding the 41 miles per hour, I should say. Glad I added a little bit of dynamic brakes. Alright, not too bad. It's past Granite there. We're doing good speed-wise. I just noticed this. This is a trick I've realized within the past week or so, but if you're on controller like I am here, this is how I've been controlling stuff, if you have noticed. It was only at the beginning of the video I used the mouse and such, but here, we'll get to this crossing. I'll explain it here. Oh yeah, we're doing really good on dynamics. I'll cut out some dynamic brakes so you get the speed back up. So if you're on controller, like I'm on Xbox controller here, or the Xbox, it's technically a Series X controller. If you hold the start button, the HUD goes away, which is great. That way you don't have to press like F1 on the keyboard and such. I've noticed, so you also get some immersion here just by having the HUD completely off if you want the extra challenge. So being able to switch like dynamic brake. Like you can see the numbers that we're at there, and then you can kind of use the only number you can really see is the speed. There's no amount for like kilopounds or anything like that. Oh yeah, no, actually there is a amount there. Is that 18? Okay, yeah. Okay, no, so you can see everything on the HUD there. So for the added challenge, you can also do that too. You have the signal aspect there. So you have to remember what signal aspect was prior before you reach that one. Look, I think we're doing good. So you can see it, and I can't zoom. I'm using the classic controls too, so you can't zoom on this controller unless there's a shortcut for it that I'm not aware of. But so that's cool as well. If you wanted more immersion and you were using the classic controls, you can hold the start button and it gets rid of the HUD. Especially if you're doing like those rail fan shots there. That's also good too. So but we'll keep this on for now. We're getting up to 40 miles per hour. So yeah, if you want the extra challenge, you could do that too. go back closer to about 60 there, dynamic brakes. Coming up to 16 miles, cut another 10 miles off. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I think it just feels like a long route just because, you know, for a long consist like this, it's going to take a lot longer to get to Cheyenne just for the length. And again, we don't want to go too fast. Like, we don't want to hit about 45 miles per hour and feel like the dynamic brakes and the train brakes aren't holding this consist safely. So yeah, it makes this route seem long, but it is the longest route in all the train sim world. So it's gonna take that time. It's all about patience, people. It's in the title. Doing good. Crescent closer to 42. Add a little bit more dynamic brake here. Try to slow it down a little bit more. Again, the minimal application throughout the entire consist is definitely helping us. We're not straining all the rail cars' brakes, which is good. We're not straining the locomotive with dynamic brake, although we're about to. Getting closer to 45, which is getting closer to out of my comfort zone. It's going to become, like I said, that bell curve here, you know, I think kind of fades away at around 45 miles per hour. So we'll be at the point of no return with control. And you can see we're not really pulling down anymore at 43 miles an hour. So putting a little bit more. This is the most dynamic brake we've seen all trip, about 87. And I'm actually going to get eager here. We'll put it at 91 just because we're not slowing down. So you can see they're becoming less and less effective the closer we get the 45. So it's still got the green signal aspect. 15 miles till Cheyenne. Now we're slowly bringing our speed back, which is good. Got some wind turbines and the sun in the distance. The sun looks beautiful at this time of day. The snow probably makes it look the snow and the haze makes it look really cool. And we saw the moon in that other clip there when we were close to Granite. Oh, yeah, you see the shadow of the windmills go across. Man, that is cool. See, that feels real. My goodness, that's cool. Okay, we're still at this 42. Because I don't want to strain it with too much dynamic brakes. I'm trying to get back down to 40 miles per hour the best I can. At any time I start to adjust the automatic brake, I need to remember to apply independent. So, because I'm trying my best just to control this with the dynamic brakes. So you can see it's getting harder and harder to hold the speed. Cars are coming up ahead. Now we're getting close to that 40. That's a little more comfortable. Yeah, this is pretty. Even with the snow, it's so pretty out here. And my goodness, I would love if a modern version of Donner Pass was in this game. I've had basically no time to work on modernizing Donner Pass. I've had very little motivation to work on it just because of how good Train Sim World is. And just for the fact that I've been so busy doing other stuff. I mean, with all the racing stuff I do too, it's kind of, you know, on the sim and on all the racing sims and such, it's just kind of takes up a lot of my time. So it's unfortunate I haven't been able to do it, but it'd be so cool if a modern version of Donner Pass was in this sim. I'm sure they could do it, but you know, the length of the route is pretty lengthy. And there's a lot of trees and such that they have to consider. So I don't know, performance-wise, if it would be good, but that'd definitely be a route that I'd be like, hey, you know, make it. It's also a very classic route on Train Sim. And that route was made, you know, prior to a lot of lot of, you know, new ways of making routes. You know, the original route has like no super elevation. A lot of like the radiuses of the tracks are wrong. Elevation is by far probably the worst thing on that route that I've been trying to correct on TS1, and so, you know, elevation needs to be fixed, and it just needs to be modern. You know, it needs to be modern with Union Pacific on it, and you know, and the snow is incredible when you get up to, you know, the summit and things like that. Like how much snow they can get. So it'd be cool to see if they modeled a lot of snow, or was able to model a lot of snow. Keep going downhill. Yeah, even the grades over here, you see how deep the terrain gets to the left of us. Just the rolling hills. Sun continues to set. It's 16:18 now, which would be, what is that in US time? 4:18? So, and this is taking place in December, so obviously the sun's gonna set closer to around 5, so we are getting dark. Actually, probably before 5, like probably 4:45, so 16:45, and it'll start getting really dark. It'll be about when we enter Cheyenne. So it will be fairly evening, nighttime feeling when we get to Cheyenne. Which is cool. I think I picked a good scenario where kind of starting more daylight and kind of get the sun setting, which is cool. Speed-wise, we're doing good. This is the most dynamic brake we've seen all run. So far, not too bad. Yeah, as you can see, as we get closer to 40 miles per hour around this, it's a lot easier to maintain the dynamic brakes. Here's our clear aspect. Coming up to 12 miles. We're getting closer. Getting closer. This next aspect is in just about 2 miles. Pulling speed well. Let's go ahead and go back up to the GoPro cam. I'm like trademarking this, the GoPro cam. Yeah, as it's getting close to nighttime, you can see how lit. And this is my big complaint about the lighting. My big well, one is like the shadows. I feel like the shadows are a bit too dark. And in Premiere, I'll probably be adjusting like contrast settings and enhancing the shadows a little bit more. But I feel like when the shadows hit, it's like too dark. You know, our eyes usually adjust to shadows pretty well. Although it kind of, you know, things like the sun and places that are getting hit by the light will get a bit too bright. But you know, at least these shadows usually don't get this dark. You know, because the surrounding is still fairly bright. These shadows are, you know, really not that much of anything. But my complaint is the headlights. Like, you can kind of see where the cursor is at in the very center of the screen where that dot is. That's about as far as the lights are extending. And from what I've experienced seeing like the local CSX stuff in my area at night, like first off, they can light up trees like fairly far down. I mean, a good, I would say 1/8 of a mile, maybe 1/4 of a mile. I'd say 1/8 of a mile, really. It can light up, you know, a good area 1/8 of a mile down. And, you know, but if they can't even model, you know, that might be pushing the limits. You know, if 1/8 of a mile is too far for the lights to travel, at least like where you see the light travel here, it should be at least twice that length, where we're able to see, you know, the rails light up further down or the scenery light up. The lights are the weakest thing on this sim. So again, it's probably a performance optimization thing. Yeah, because even that like crossbuck sign could barely, you know, it wasn't lit up until we got close to it. Now, it could be because it's 4:22 in the afternoon, so it's not pitch black. It might be a little bit different at night, but even from the nighttime stuff I've experienced, the lights really don't travel that far. So I don't know. I might have to do more night scenarios to make a better judgment call on it, but. And I've heard people complain that the nighttime setting is a bit too bright, but honestly, it's better than really dark and pitch black. I'd rather you be able to at least see than not know where the absolute heck you are. I guess to make up for that, if they made the headlights a little bit brighter, then that would probably make up for that. Or if they made, if they made the headlights a little bit, travel a little bit further, but not as intense, that might also improve performance as well. Alright, still green on the aspect. Next one looks to be green as well, as you would presume if that signal was green. And we're within 10 miles of Cheyenne. And so we're going to have to take into consideration too that it's going to take a heck of a amount of time to stop this consist. So and believe the main lines through Cheyenne, you're still going downhill, so we have to take into consideration the brakes and how long it's going to need to stop. So far looking good. There's the little that track to the right connects up with track 3, and then it gets to that Y for whatever subdivision is south of here. So far we're doing good. Actually, the gradient's dropped a little bit. We're at 1.2%. Let's see if it fades off a little bit more. Let's take a little bit of dynamic brakes off. Come out to the crossing here as I get around the bend. I know, I forgot to mention that too. The double stack containers, the trailer containers, or whatever you want to call them. I'm impressed that they were able to use a lot of they use the Hamburg, the Hapag-Lloyd, and the one containers. It's cool that they're able to use that. I guess they have the license to use those containers for the European routes and such. A lot of people were concerned that they were on the American stuff here. I mean, yeah, you do see them on American consists. They're not, I guess, I don't know what the word is. They're not rare on intermodal trains in the US, but it's also not like every other car you see them on. In the US, you see more of like the JB Internationals. You see a lot of, well, there's been more and more Amazons. Not as much, for every car, but yeah, like JB International, JB Hunt. I don't know what it's called. One of those two, and others. I can't think of the names of them now, but or like the PJ Stacker. I don't know. I can't think of the brands, but. Usually you see more of those than you do the international stuff. So it's sort of odd to see them on like almost every car. I kind of like how Dovetail Games makes their own rail cars. Like they use the DG, or what is it? They call it DTGX instead of the TTXX or whatever the other brand is that makes rail cars. You know, it'd be cool if, you know, Telltale Games could have made like a rip-off of the JB Hunt or JB International or whatever it is. You know, and use that as for some of the cars instead of just making them like one white color or one like dark blue or something. So, I mean, if they do ever get the permissions to use those, oh, that'd be phenomenal. They can use that licensed stuff, but yeah, it's like they kind of overdid it with the European containers, in my opinion. I am blowing the horn way too soon for that crossing grade. And here's the chemical plant to our right. Still got the green aspect, still doing good on speed. I'll probably see a couple. I see a couple SD40-2s in the yard there. There's some ethanol tankers or chemical tankers that are supposed to be. There's the SD40-2s. Apparently Union Pacific uses some other versions of the SD40s, like SD40Ns or something. I don't know. Telltale Games in their live streams and such were saying that they weren't able to model it, but I personally don't know the difference. They're all SD40-2s. I mean, each road has their own versions of locomotives, kind of like the Tier 4 SD70s. Like, the Tier 4s for Union Pacific are probably called the SD70. You know, they're still SD70ACes, but under Tier 4 names. CSX names ST70ACes. You know, just each road has their own way of naming it. I don't think there's, I think like I don't think there's maybe too much that changes with them. You know, maybe added power or traction efforts, but for the most part they're the same Loco. So I don't care if they're SD40-2s. I'm not that picky about it. All right, we're getting down to 5 miles here. I think that's actually track 3 that we see over to the right-hand side. So track 3 is coming back towards us. So you can see it's much lower than us, and that's because it's, you know, the gradient is on that track isn't as severe as tracks 1 and 2 here, but it winds a lot more. I mean, if you look at Google Maps and you know, follow track 3, it's very windy. You know, it's kind of like how to get up a mountain you would zigzag, you know, to disperse the gradient, and that's basically what it's doing there. So that's why a lot of people like track 3, just because it's not as steep, but like I said, I don't see the point if the route's point A to point B is the same place, then I don't see the point. You know, it's not like the Y just south of here goes anywhere close, really. So yeah, we're doing really good on speed. I can kind of bring back the dynamic brakes a lot. Actually, what I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna reduce automatic brake. I'm gonna just remove it. They did not add crossing stuff here. They just have the road. They kind of gave up on the actual, like, the ties or whatever they use, the rubber things. Is there a bell off? Okay, yeah. Use the bell. Apparently I never use the off function. Alright, still got green here on the aspect. We're doing fairly good. I dipped off all the automatic brakes, so now we're just slowing this thing down by dynamics. We're within 4.2 miles that we need to stop. Speed-wise, we're doing okay. I think we'll try to keep it around this 30. When we get to about 3 miles, I think that's when we're going to start trying to slow this thing down. Maybe 2 miles, I would say. It's going to take a lot of force to get this thing stopped. Got more of those snow fences over here. And there you can see track 3 just over there in the distance. As it gets a little bit darker. That transition between those two lighting things was not that smooth. There's track 3 to our right. 3.7, we got 1% grade downhill. There's a little bit more dynamic brakes, try to get this thing closer to 30 miles an hour. As you can see, around 35 miles per hour, the dynamic works. Goodness. The dynamic brakes work great. Still doing good, still got green on the aspect, we're getting even closer. That looks to be Interstate 80 coming up, but just ahead of us. Got some, at least AI cars are showing up there, that's cool. Yeah, see, anything to make the immersion, I feel like I talk about that in every Train Sim World episode. The immersion, like previously when we went by Interstate 80, there were 0 cars. And so, especially the crossings, there's no cars over crossings. I don't know why they can't model that. They can model that amazingly in TS1, but I don't know how they can't do that in this sim. So, you know, small things like that to help the immersion, make it feel like stuff is actually happening, it's gonna help. So there you go, Interstate 80. About 2.9 miles away. We do have an approach coming up in a mile, which means the next signal is most likely going to be a stop. Try your best not to spat it. For those of you who don't know what spat is, it stands for, or is it SPAD? Signal, yeah, signal passed at danger. So try not to do that. Let's go ahead and let's see, I've been really using dynamic brakes. Let's try to get dynamic brakes to slow us down a little bit more. What we could do is, let's go ahead and add into automatic brake. We'll do manual applications, bail off of the independent. That way we still have dynamic brakes as we go downhill. Dynamic brakes have kicked back in. So now we're using kind of a mix between dynamic and the minimal reduction. Let's see how quickly we slow down. We're at 0.8%. Yeah, now we can, let's just release the automatic brakes. We're holding our own well with dynamic brakes, so we'll probably use that. Get some more road traffic to our left. 30 miles per hour. We do have a 35 zone coming up ahead, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, dynamic brakes are going to work great here. This is where it gets intense once again. Up. We do have that, looks like it's a flashing yellow. Flashing approach. Okay, we're 2 miles away. Using a little bit more dynamics here. Looks like we got a crossing coming out. This is the crossing I was talking about. It doesn't have any gates on it, I don't believe. It's a shame that they don't have it. Okay, the next signal is still an approach, so we're not quite at the end, but we do have to stop within 2 miles. It's getting antsy. Let's go and cut the dynamic brakes. I don't know why they make that weird of a sound when you immediately take them off. I don't think that is realistic. Sounds like we're blowing the dynamic brake fan off of it. But dynamic brakes are cut out, so that's good. We're still in idle, which is good. We've got middle application. Yeah, I don't know why the dynamic brakes do that. That is very weird. So we're holding our own fairly good. Still got another 1.5 miles till we stop. I'm just kind of playing around with the automatic brakes. Kind of cutting in. You know, we're still at 0.8% downhill, so just keeping that minimal reduction. Keep an eye on our speed. We're at 26. We're gonna stop a 1.6 mile train in 1.3 miles here. Yep, see, there we go. It's gonna, we just got the slack. We had a bit of slack, and then we got pushed a bit there as we picked up a bit of speed. And now we're increasing speed, so let's go ahead and add more automatic brake. There's Cheyenne. We're really not going to enjoy the scenery because we're going to be concerned about just stopping this damn thing. Yeah, we are increasing speed by a lot, so let's really kick in some automatic brakes here. Coming up to 1 mile. Now I'm getting pretty scared because we are not really lowering our speed. We are coming into a more shallow grade, 0.1%. We're passing this approach. 0.9 miles, 0.8. We're slowly getting our speed down finally. Let's go ahead and release. Yeah, let's apply brakes once again. Automatic brakes are weird. You kind of just, you have to release them to then, you know, then lower it. Because you can't be at like 40% brakes, then bring it down to 20. It's going to be stuck at the 40 amounts. Then you kind of release it and then give it less brakes. I don't know, it's weird. Okay, we're holding 20, okay. Let's bring it back up again. Get the bell on, just let people know around. Got a slow engine coming in for a stop. Got half a mile to go till we need a stop. Let's apply a little more brake pressure in. Actually, I'll be more comfortable if we get closer to like 10 miles per hour. That'll come to a crawl. We're probably using a little bit more brake than we should be using. Let's go ahead and bail off the brakes once again. And there's our red coming up pretty much right as we stop. Heart rate is going up, 15 miles per hour. Most of this train is still on the gradient. Brake cylinder, our locomotives, and making sure it's cooperating. So at the 15, barely slowing down. There's the Cheyenne turntable. Got the roundhouse, and then there's the steam shop over there. In the preview builds of it, they didn't have the steam shop or the roundhouse there. I was like, oh no, you guys better put it in. This is where it gets really intense. We're playing chicken with this darn light. Now, in real life, you could stop here and be fine, but just because the game is indicating us to stop pretty much right at that signal, that's making this a little bit more antsy. We're in downhill 0.1%, so it's getting really scary. Really don't want the speed to accidentally come up randomly. So we're right around 10 miles an hour. It's good. Bring up a little bit more automatic brake. If we need to, we can just apply a cut-off train brake. So far, we're managing the speed a little bit better than I thought. Now we're really slowing down. Just a minimal application for now, see how well that gets us. As we're still bringing our speed down, let's do a little bit independent. Man, we are really playing chicken with this light. I just want to stop, man. I don't like any of this right now. Just trying to use the train right now to manage it. Alright, let's go ahead. We are really applying train brake here. I'm just afraid the consist. I think we got most of the consist slowed down. Is it going to accept us this close? We'll see if it does. And we're basically stopped and it's not accepting us. Ugh, goodness gracious, I hate that. I'll just release the brakes, see if it starts rolling. It might. Take a look at the ground here. Yeah, we're slowly rolling forward. Give it a bit of throttle. Yep, there we go. Bit of throttle. Yeah, in real life you could stop here and be fine, but it's just because of the stop at location. So I wish they made that a little bit longer. Make the threshold for stopping a little bit bigger. At least most of the train is kind of stopped to where it doesn't want to lunge back and waves and try to push us further. Okay, now we're not moving anywhere. Now we gotta get some slack cut out of it. Rear of the train's at 75, so it's not like the rear of the train's brakes are applied so much. Let's see if that will be plenty for us. Better take us. It's still gonna take us. My goodness. Oh, this is frustrating. This is really frustrating. We're right there. It really should just let us stop, like, you know, between here and like half a mile behind us. Try to get within 10 yards here. There we go. Yeah, we did it. Woo! Oh. Okay, well, at least we made it. That was getting really close at the end. But yeah, performance chart, I mean, you can really tell, you know, just where you're managing the dynamic brake. I mean, it's not, I think somewhere here to the summit. I'd say, yeah, because it looks like here we're still applying power. So, like, starting from about here, I think is where the summit is, and then we start going downhill. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, you know, there's these 55-mile-per-hour zones, but we got limited to 45 in some places. So the fact that we were kind of holding 40 for most of the trip wasn't bad. I mean, we weren't really slow. We weren't like 35, you know, we weren't 30 miles per hour for most of it. I think 30 would have been a bit too slow, if anything. So yeah, I would say for a heavy consist like this, for a consist that's not going to be any heavier than this or longer than this, 35, 40 miles per hour is kind of the sweet spot for the dynamic brakes. And like I said, when we got to 1.5% grade downhill, you know, we put that cut of automatic brakes in, you know, had most of the train kind of hold it back, and then we can manage the dynamic brakes fairly well, you know, so manage the speed. So yeah, I'd say that was by far one of the best runs. I hope you guys learned something. Obviously, if you have questions, comments, concerns, write them down below in the comments section. I will try to help you guys out the best I can with the English that I can do. So yeah, not too bad. We're gonna go ahead and just return to free roam here. So theoretically, this would be a crew change. It'd be so cool if they could add a crew change or like animations for a crew change, but that's gonna be it for us on the consist. So we're gonna go ahead and exit out the doors, get on the ground, take a look at this guy. The frames are absolutely dipping. Let's just make sure there's no trains coming through. And there you have it. There is the end of our run from Laramie to Cheyenne. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'm hoping to get some more Train Sim World videos out before the end of the year and into January, some more snowy scenarios. So let me know in the comments what you want to see. If you want to see maybe the Amtrak Boston Sprinter route next, if you want to see me go back to Sand Patch, I might do one more on Sherman Hill. We'll do an SD40-2 run maybe, and maybe Clinchfield as well. So anyways, that's going to be it for me. Is the consist ready to move? Is the crew change completed? Maybe we'll see. We'll wait for it. That is going to be it for me. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.